What's up, everybody? Joe Ringen here, coming to you again with a book review. Today, we're going to talk about book 2 of Stephen R. Lawhead's The Pendragon Cycle. Book 2 is called Merlin. So, my last video was book 1, which is Taliesin. And if you remember that video, you know I really, really liked it. Surprisingly, so much like. I liked it more than I thought I would. Okay, but first, here we go. Besides reviewing books, I wrote a book. It's called The Ballad of Ages. It's a fantasy book. It's a good read. Check it out. It's on Amazon. Because, well, and besides writing, I like to review books, and maybe books that aren't talked about as much as some other ones. I really like finding lesser known books that are awesome. I'm more than happy to read well-known books that are awesome too, and I have. But I really enjoy digging or scrounging the depths of YouTube and finding other reviewers and seeing books that they recommend. So that's the point of the channel, and stay tuned if you like that kind of stuff. Today, this series, I wouldn't say is unknown, especially because there's the TV show, the Apple TV, or not Apple, Daily Wire, I get Plus show, Pendragon Cycle. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to, since I have actually read the third book in this series as well. I haven't gotten to doing the video reviews because I've been enjoying summer, man. Golfing and stuff, swimming, barbecuing, all the good stuff. But today I have some time, so here's the video for Merlin. So Merlin is about, well, you guessed it, Merlin. He's a very famous character in the Arthurian legend. And I won't talk about the artistic license of this series, what Lawhead takes. I talked about that more in the first video. But Merlin isn't so much depicted as a wizard like we come to think of him. He's more of a sage or a bard or a philosopher, but he does have some sort of mystical abilities. And so we kind of learn about that in this book. We learn about Merlin's upbringing, you know, as a kid. In the first book, Taliesin, we left off with the birth of Merlin. So in this book, we start with him as a kid. And he goes to some woods people. He gets lost or captured. I don't remember exactly. But he ends up with some woods people. And he learns a lot about just like natural things, herbs, potions, how to heal people naturally, and just how to live, you know, just off the land. And so this part of the book, if I'm going to be honest, was the most boring to me, and is the reason I didn't like it as much as the first. It was just kind of slow, you know. A lot of description about him learning about potions and, like I said, living off the land. And it's super important for his character arc, so I'm glad it's there. I just wish it didn't have to be as long, maybe. And part of the reason I think I don't like it is, or didn't like it as much, is a lot of fantasy books have this scene or this trope, right? Where someone goes to live with, you know, some barbarian tribe or whatever, woods people, and learns all this stuff. Happens a lot. And so it's kind of boring to me. But man, I will tell you what, part 2 and part 3 is so good. It is so good. I couldn't put it down. So if you can get past the first part, part 2 and part 3 is incredible. So good, man. So good, man. I'm not going to go into spoilers with this review. I'll touch the surface of why it's great, why I loved it. One difference in this book that I didn't like as much, it worked well, but I didn't like as much, is Lawhead changes his writing style. It's into first-person view, perspective. So I love Taliesin because it was almost Song of Ice and Fire-like. It would switch perspectives of characters every chapter, and it was third person, which is like, I love that. That's just normal to me. I love reading fantasy books. Not that I don't like first person, but it's just a weird shift. Like, why change in the middle of a series? It worked. It's fine. That was just kind of threw me off at first. So this book is told in first person through the eyes of Merlin. So different than the first book. But anyway, so we get past part 1, and then the shift of perspective. Beyond those two things, this book is flawless, incredible, so good. So part 2 is where it gets really fun. And this is kind of where everything that we know about the Arthurian legends sort of starts to take shape. In Taliesin, it was sort of, oh, this is kind of like a prequel almost, and then Merlin's like the name you recognize, and Morgan. But now it's really starting to become a thing, and you're starting to recognize the Arthurian legends and places and people, and it's awesome. So anyway, again, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but part 2, we meet some very important characters to the Arthurian legend. And I'm going to miss some stuff in this review because I don't want to spend 2 hours of your time. So there's other good stuff that I'm going to talk about. But anyway, that I'm not going to talk about, I should say, that you'll find in the book. Anyway, so part 2, we meet, Uther, so Arthur's dad, and then his brother, Aurelius. I should know that. I'm going to check. Yes, Aurelius and Uther. So they're going to be, that's Merlin's plan to unite Britain, the Mighty Isle. He goes out and he recognizes Aurelius. He's the older brother, and he tries to convince them to unite Britain against the invading Saxons, because Britain is just all these different kings and small factions, and Merlin knows through all his prophecies and stuff that ain't gonna work to keep the Saxons away. So you need to unite Britain, and Aurelius and Uther are sons of Constantine, like a Roman emperor, and so it's like a perfect line of succession. But they also have like British blood, so it's perfect. So that's his plan, and he convinces them. And there's a little bit of angst at first because why does Aurelius get to be king? And Uther's kind of mad about that. But Uther ends up being like the commander of the army, so a very prestigious position. So anyway, so they unite and they have all these cool battles, and a lot of it is getting the fellow British kings on board. So that's a lot of part 2. But then also part 2, we meet Ganyeda, which is Merlin's love interest. So Merlin's a lot younger in this story, book 2. And he falls in love with Ganyeda, who's one of the woods people that he grew up with. So it's really, really a cool thing. So they're friends, and then they grow up and fall in love, and then end up getting married, and it's a really cool thing. So you didn't really know that. I didn't know that about Merlin, about his story. So there's that added love piece. Super cool. I will say, without going to spoilers, the end, or I don't know if it's the end, but part of part 2 is heart-wrenching. And oh man, I felt just so much pain reading it. But Lawhead did such a great job building up to it. And you'll know when you read it. It's just, oh man. Pulled at the heartstrings. Tugged them. Tugged them, man. It was a good read. It was a good read. Lawhead's a great author. So then, okay. At the end of it, Uther and Aurelius, they also meet, I'm going to mispronounce it, Igerna. She's their future love interest of both of them. So there's a love triangle. It's very, as you would expect, I guess. So a love triangle between the two brothers. And yeah, there's some backstabbing. The thing that's cool about this story is it's very political, almost Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, but much more fantastical, kind of like Taliesin was. And so there's a lot of the courtroom politics and the winning people on your side and the backstabbing, which happens to Aurelius and Uther. And then so now getting more into part 3 is a little bit more of the politics side of it. And then Merlin saving Igerna, who ends up being the queen. And then I'm not going to go into details. You have to read it. But Arthur is born of Igerna and one of the two kings. And he's hidden because Merlin then realizes Arthur is the prophesied dragon. He is the prophet, and I'm not talking Wheel of Time. Like, this is actually Arthurian legend, the dragon. So I think Wheel of Time borrowed from that. The prophesied dragon. He's going to unite the mighty island, Britain. It's Arthur. It's not Uther. It's not Aurelius. It's Arthur. So Merlin has to keep him secret away from all the other kings because, if that word gets out that there's an heir to Uther or Aurelius alive somewhere, he's dead, right? People are gonna kill that baby, that heir. So he hides him away. And then, there's more politicking and things and battles and really cool, just like magical things between Morgan and Merlin. Morgan is like, if you don't know, she's the evil witch, who's the antagonist to Merlin and is always just a thorn in his side throughout this whole story. And, they battle and it's super interesting. Anyway, and so that's the end. We end there. Arthur's born. Well, no, we end with a very famous scene of Merlin staking the sword into the stone and basically just saying amongst all these arguing kings about what to do, he who pulls this sword from the stone is the king, is going to unite Britain. So that's the end of the book. And then book 3 will tell about Arthur's tale. But, oh my gosh, this book, if you like fantasy, if you like history, if you like politics, read this book. Start with Taliesin. Taliesin I like better, but this book, so good. And you really like Merlin as a character. It's very interesting how just Lawhead never calls him a wizard again. He's keeps it a little more realistic, almost like you could, he leads you along into this world and there's all these fantastical elements, but it's real enough to believe. So you can be in the story, in the world, and be like, thinking it's actual history, because it kind of is, but it's so good how he does it. I love it. I'm so happy I read this series. I almost don't want to watch the show because I don't want to be let down. But I've heard the show is really good and pretty faithful, so I probably still will, but I'm sure the books are going to be better. They always are. So I'll probably watch the show and maybe compare the two. I don't know. But I love that I got pulled into this Arthurian legend stuff. I've always known about it, of course, but I'm so interested in it. It's the best. And I'm finding all these other books I'm going to read about Arthur. That just makes me so interested. I don't know why. Maybe because it's real. At least partly real, right? Anyway, that's all I got for today. The next video will be book 3. And I already finished it, so the video will be coming out soon. So... all right, everybody, have a great night. Thanks for watching.